Residents in Elliott Lake want uranium mining waste on their properties cleaned up. Barrie's city council wants to make it illegal to give someone living on the street a blanket. 2 men are missing after a helicopter accident, says the armed forces, except Trudeau has said that they're dead. And at least 41 women, inmates at a prison, have been killed in a riot in Honduras. Good morning. It's Wednesday, June 21st. I'm Nora, and here are your headlines. First to Elliott Lake in Northern Ontario. 4 residents are calling on the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission and BHP, a mining company, to deal with high levels of radiation on their properties. They each live on a site that was never properly cleaned up of mining waste. Uranium mining in Elliott Lake ended in 1996. From 1996 until 2002, Rio Algom Limited was supposed to remediate and decommission the mines, reports CBC's Kate Rutherford and Jonathan Mignon. BHP acquired the sites from Rio Algom Limited in the year 2000. 3 of the 4 houses had been used as company housing when the mines were still in operation. Rio Algom sold the houses to mine workers during the 1970s. In the House of Commons, local MP Carol Hughes said this, quote, "This waste from closed uranium mines was widely used as fill for construction in the 1960s. Without knowing, these families have been exposed to radiation above allowable limits caused by mine wastes buried in their yards and driveways." The Canadian Environmental Law Association is working on the case. They told CBC that the federal government has not yet responded in a quote-unquote meaningful way. The Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission doesn't have a mandate to regulate historic mine waste at non-licensed sites. They bounced CBC to Natural Resources Canada. Natural Resources Canada said that tailings and waste were, quote, all safely stored in tailings management facilities in the area, unquote. Oh, except for that, quote, some waste rock was used on some properties in the Elliott Lake area prior to 1976 when uranium mining was regulated solely by the provincial government, unquote. They then said that BHP has all the responsibility here. Now to Barrie, where the municipality is trying to push through bylaw amendments that would make it illegal to help people who live on the streets. If someone is caught distributing food, water, clothing, tents, tarps, or anything else to someone who lives on the street without authorization from the city, they could face fines of between $500 to $100,000. CTV's Dana Roberts reports that several people have started a camp in protest of the proposed bylaw changes. The motion was already passed last month. Part of it included, quote-unquote, cracking down on panhandling and stopping people who would like to give money to others from giving that money. Councillors will meet tomorrow and consider these changes. When the motion was first passed, CTV Barrie quoted the executive director of the Barrie Chamber of Commerce, Paul Markle, who said that the people of Barrie need, quote, education on why panhandling hurts and does not improve the situation in the long term. I feel like I need Markle to do some of that education for me. What does he mean that panhandling hurts and does not improve the situation in the long term? No one claims that panhandling solves any housing crisis, but it would be very hard to demonstrate that it actually hurts. It makes me think of this. Back in the mid-1800s, businessmen in Halifax founded a benevolent society with the sole goal of ending begging. Their solution was to raise money to give food and other necessities to poor people. The society collapsed within 7 years because their plan didn't work. People were still begging for money because they couldn't work enough hours to make the wages that would get them out of poverty. We are almost 200 years past that era, and yet somehow we're still here. Next, conflicting information dominated the news yesterday related to a search and rescue mission looking for 2 members of an Air Force helicopter that went down near Petawawa. Petawawa is about 150 kilometers northwest of Ottawa. While the military had still not confirmed that the members were killed in the accident, the Prime Minister said to journalists that he had talked to the Chief of Defence last night to, quote, express my condolences to families and colleagues of the members who've been killed. The fact is there will be a thorough investigation. There will be answers to give, but right now we are focused on notifications of families and support, unquote. After Trudeau said this, the military said that the search and recovery efforts were still ongoing, as in they were not yet confirming the soldiers' deaths. In a story for CTV News by Hannah Burge and Ted Raymond, they write, quote, when asked to clarify the Prime Minister's comments, a member of the Prime Minister's office told CTV News that they are not in a position to clarify anything, unquote. Here is what is confirmed. A CH-147 Chinook helicopter crashed into the water during a training flight at 12:10 a.m. Tuesday morning. There were 4 crew. 2 were injured and 2 are missing. It's also bizarre that this happened just after midnight if Trudeau claims to have talked to the Chief of Defense Staff, quote unquote, last night. He either got wind of this accident extremely quickly or I don't know. I don't know how much time the Prime Minister would have had in his night if he was able to stay up so late to make this call. If what happened happens the way that he said that it happened. The 2 missing crew members are members of the 450 Tactical Helicopter Squadron. As a result of the search and rescue mission, CTV reports that the town of Pembroke, which is nearby, told residents to limit their water usage as there was, quote, very high demand, unquote, on their water systems. Quote, as we assist our neighbors with an ongoing emergency, unquote. CTV doesn't explain what the connection is between high water demand, water usage, and the search and rescue mission. And finally, to Honduras, where a riot at a women's prison has killed at least 41 people. Most of the victims were burned, but there were also reports that some were stabbed or shot. The prison is in Tamara, about 50 kilometers northwest of the capital of Tegucigalpa. One inmate interviewed by local television said that prisoners who are members of the Barrio 18 gang, quote, burst into a cell block and shot other inmates or set them on fire, unquote. This is coming from the Associated Press. Honduran President Xiomara Castro said that the riot was planned with a, quote, knowledge and acquiescence of security authorities, unquote. Families and loved ones of the women gathered outside of the prison hoping to hear information about what had happened. Authorities are blaming the riots on gangs and have pledged to respond with more security. The Associated Press mentions that the last tragedy of this scale in Central America happened when girls in a shelter in Guatemala set fire to the mattresses to protest sexual assault and other kinds of violence they were experiencing. But the facility was overcrowded and the smoke of the fire killed 41 girls. One wonders if prison conditions were actually at the source of this riot rather than just gangs doing gang things. But there's no other information to suggest this. In Honduras in 2012, 361 inmates died in a penitentiary fire that was caused by an open flame of an unknown source. The article wonders aloud if this riot will pressure Honduras to try and impose extreme zero-tolerance, no-privilege prisons that have been set up in El Salvador. The article reads, quote, while El Salvador's crackdown on gangs has given rise to rights violations, it has also proved immensely popular in a country long terrorized by street gangs. Those are your headlines for Wednesday, June 21st. That's right, folks. It's the longest day of the year. It's the longest day of the year, and it's the beginning of summer. So I hope that you have something planned today to celebrate both of these things. Don't let the days pass without you noticing the sun staying out as long as it can. I hope you have a great day.